the late Marshal Johnny Watt said there was a guy that you really ought to talk to, and his name is Craig Spohn. And we talked to Craig, and we were thoroughly impressed with him, and immediately made him the president and CEO of this organization. And he took it from an idea to actually a whole new industry certainly for Northwest Louisiana, but for the entire state. And a lot of things that we've originated here under his leadership is being transported out to the schools at all levels throughout the United States. It's just tremendous.
I had moved back here thinking I would be a teacher. Both my parents and my sisters taught school. With my background, I ended up being asked to develop a technology division within a local company. That exposure led to the recognition of the creation of a newly established voluntary committee for how do we respond to the Air Force's need for a cyber innovation center.
In 2007, I went to a meeting and I sat next to a guy I didn't know. And he said these words, that if we do this right, our children will have an ability to have jobs in technology. He left, I left, we didn't know each other.
Sitting next to a couple of people I didn't know, saying that if we got this right, we could change the community for generations to come.
We were struggling at that time to find a leader for this venture with technology.
There was this vision about what could happen in the community, taking advantage of this national cyber focus that would create education and economic opportunities for us in this region.
Saw them talking at the end of the meeting. I said, who was that guy? And Johnny White, former city marshal, told me it was Craig Spohn. And he said, you want me to set up a lunch with you? I went to that lunch and immediately knew he was that guy.
I said that to Jimmy Hall, not knowing who he was. And he took what I had prepared in the form of a notebook of requirements that could be given to a Northrop or a Lockheed or a Boeing or a General Dynamics and have them respond in a way that you could evaluate and compare other companies against each other. And he said, you do that. It was that unceremonial and that anticlimactic. It was just, we're done, you're the guy, start on this.
And he was hired through the company he worked for the next day. Eventually that migrated into him taking over as the director of the Cyber Innovation Center.
There were a lot of barriers to that, but first and foremost, Craig was one of the ones that began to understand that K-12 education had to be addressed for the long term, that we had to really begin to develop the STEM capacity of our students in this region to build a workforce that would ultimately be able to drive economic growth and bring jobs here.
Well, for one thing, he has a way, he's a soft-spoken guy, and he communicates with people very well. He looks them in the eye, he tells them a story, and he's a very believable guy. When we hired him, he went to Washington on innumerable trips long before we were ever successful in this venture. And he built credibility with people, and that credibility and those personal relationships turned into economic investment in this community. And to this day, I really don't know of anybody that he's reached out and touched and had a relationship with that he's off center with. I mean, he does his business in such a way that people continue those friendships and continue those relationships, and that's really what building business is all about.
There could have been many times along the way when Craig would hit a wall and it would seem like there's no way to go further, but he would be relentless in exploring all of these opportunities and would ultimately find maybe even a better way to achieve the results that none of us could even anticipate.
I think Craig, when in dealing with failure, hates it. He hates failure, and that's probably a statement that most people could say about themselves, but he responds with, and what my observation is if he's experienced a failure or maybe more of a setback, he just redoubles his efforts to try to make those things correct and admits his mistakes too. I think that's one of the things that I've been impressed with Craig about, is that he doesn't think that he knows it all and has all the answers, and he admits his mistakes but puts forth double, triple, quadruple effort to make sure that if there has been a sidestep or a misstep, that he's going to work through it and get things back on track.
I think in the heat of fire, it's his ability to remain cool, calm, and I've never seen him lash out at somebody to a point that you couldn't reclaim that relationship.
But I think passion is one of the key characteristics of Craig, and I think that passion as a role model, it will carry over and would impress the young people that are involved in junior achievement.
And he is a sound, hard-working guy. You would think a guy at this point could just kind of cut the throttle back and coast a while, and he's not a coaster. Every day he gets up and grinds to make it better.
And I think Craig is an example of showing where you can come from an ordinary background, but with good schooling, achieve the highest level of ability and recognition as an outstanding person and leader that he is.
I mean, he is a guy that never sees anything as unachievable. He has the drive and the will to make things happen when they don't seem possible. And he's taken us on a ride with technology in a community that had never existed, that would have never been possible without him.
What was a vision back then is a reality now, and it's all because of Craig Spohn.
We build these models, we build these projects, and we build these robots as teams, not as individuals. And so there's recognized need for management principles to know that we're going to start here and we're going to end here. And in order to get to that place, these are the milestones we have to set and meet in order to achieve that. That's fundamental business. That's just fundamental project management. And that's where I think NYSERC and junior achievement tie all that together, because one of the shortcomings of most college graduate students that I hear most in advisory boards that I sit on within computer science and engineering is that they need to know how all of this ties together in the business community. And the fact that they don't have the business application of all of the math and science is where I think junior achievement stands to introduce that early enough so that they can also begin to think about, maybe if I don't want to be a mathematician, a programmer, a computer scientist, a physicist, I could be the guy who's managing the team of those people to produce this business solution for a larger corporation. Am I done?
No.